It doesn't shock anyone to hear that Miami may be doing something shady in recruiting, and that certainly may be the case here. We're going to talk about it as it pertains to commit Darrell Jackson next. Hey guys, thanks for coming to the channel. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks for hanging out with us today. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's jump right into it. Florida State got a commitment from transfer target Darrell Jackson at the very beginning of the portal window. We did a video on him. We talked about it. I'll link that both in the description and above so you guys can check that out if you haven't already watched it. He played at Miami last year and put his name in the portal after the season once the window opened, and there was some speculation that he may end up at Florida State. For some reasons for that we'll talk about here in just a moment. He did end up coming to Florida State and committed to the Noles almost immediately after entering the portal. His mother's health was cited as a reason that he may transfer. It was also cited as the reason that he may end up getting a waiver. You see, he went to Maryland out of high school, transferred to Miami, and so he'd already used his one free transfer as an undergraduate. Not being able to play immediately probably would have hindered his decision, but thinking that he may end up getting a waiver is something that I think was important and a reason that he ended up picking FSU. You see, his mother lives close to Tallahassee. Her health condition that we won't go into, but her health condition and him wanting to be closer to her seems like a legitimate reason for a waiver. The NCAA doesn't get much right, but that seems like kind of an open and shut case, or it did at the time. We did a video on him. Again, we said we would link that. Go check that out. But some things have happened since then. Since then, number one defensive tackle on the team this year, Fabian Lovett, announced that he would be coming back, and number one transfer target in the entire portal, Braden Fisk, announced that he would be joining the Seminoles. This probably moves Jackson down on the depth chart just a little bit, as I don't necessarily see him beating out either one of those guys year one in Florida State's system. I think that he could play and play a ton, but he's probably not a starter anymore like we figured when we did the video, because neither of those other two things had happened just yet. But the recruitment has gotten interesting even in the last week. It sounds like this week, Miami's made a push to try and get him back in their class. And there's been some reporting by both Noles 247's Brendan Sonnone and Inside the U's Gabby Uridia, as well as Zach Blostein at Noles 247, that has been pretty interesting to follow along with and see. Sounds like Miami started creeping back into this recruitment, and he sounded like he was going to make a trip down to Miami on Friday. Zach Blostein came out Saturday morning and said that he turned his car around on the way down to Miami and went back to Tallahassee. Florida State felt really good about where they stood in this recruitment at that point, but a picture surfaced on Saturday night thanks to Gabby posting it on Twitter from Jackson's Instagram account that showed that he was probably down in Coral Gables. Now, that could be an old picture that Jackson uploaded, but a picture showed him down in Coral Gables, and if that picture was taken around the time that it was posted, certainly looks like he may be visiting Miami this weekend. So what's the latest? What's going on with Darrell? Is he going to visit Miami this weekend? Is he going to maybe turn back on his commitment and be at Florida State? I think there's a lot of things in play here. Number one, I reached out to some people in the Miami market and talked with some people that are kind of close to the situation and have some insight on what's going on here. And I think there are a couple of things at play. Number one, I do think that it matters to Darrell the fact that he's probably not going to be starting any longer. I think that it's a big deal that he's now a depth piece for Florida State. I also think Miami's pushing pretty hard on this idea that his transfer waiver may or may not be approved by the NCAA. And I think that Miami is in a position right now to try and get as much talent and keep as much talent on their roster as they can. They were not a good team last year. And so if that means telling a kid, hey, you're not going to get that waiver, don't take the chance on it, you're going to have to sit out a year, come back here, come back home, they'll do whatever they can. Recruiting is not always the most honest business. Recruiting is not always the most trying to do what's best for a kid. I think at times teams want to do what's best for them as well. And so it would not shock me at all if Mario Cristobal has said, no, we're not going to sign off on your hardship. We're not going to help you try and get this NCAA waiver, or at least at the very least cast doubt in Jackson's mind on whether he'll get that waiver or not. I think it's important for Jackson to play, but I think it's also important for him to be able to get in and not have to sit out a year. I think it's pretty obvious that NIL likely comes into play here. I think that anytime you're dealing with Miami and how aggressive they are with both the portal and high school recruiting, NIL plays a big part of that. And so I think Miami, ideally, it sounded like really wanted to hit that transfer portal hard after Jackson left, based on what I've been told. And they really haven't had much success there at defensive tackle. So I think at this point, they're trying to do anything they can to get Jackson back in the fold, because they really struck out everywhere else on that defensive tackle front. I think this commitment means more to Miami than it does to Florida State. I think that they desperately need defensive tackle help. I've been told he was the one player on their transfer out list that they didn't want to lose. It sounds like they're doing anything they can to try and get him back to Miami. I don't know where I sit exactly on this. I think that, if he was able to get his waiver approved, I think Florida State's probably the better place for Jackson. If he's having to sit out a year, that can be tough. I don't know that that's necessarily ideal for the young man. I do remember a similar situation with Fabian Lovett. If you remember or not, Fabian was rumored to be doing shopping and looking for apartments and things in Ole Miss, and wasn't going to be here in Tallahassee. That one worked out pretty well for FSU fans. And so I think there should be a little bit of a calm down, a little bit of a relax. Let's see how this plays out. But I do think, again, Miami is doing anything and everything they can, whether it be honest, whether it be full of integrity or not. That's for you to decide. But hanging a kid's waiver over him, especially when there's a health situation with his mother, I don't know. I think Miami's trying to do whatever they can to try and keep this kid committed, or break his commitment to Florida State and keep him enrolled in school there. We'll find out very soon, because Florida State's class is starting in just a couple of days, and so we'll know whether or not he's on campus and whether he's coming back or not. But I do think that it's something that I think would be big for the Noles. I think they're going to have good depth either way, and I think the defensive tackle position is one of the better depth positions on the roster. This could take them from pretty good depth to Clemson level depth at that defensive tackle position if they were able to hold on to Jackson. I don't know if they will or not at this point. I think it'd be really big if they could. But I think that there are rumors swirling of Miami trying to overspend for Jackson. I think you have to be smart with your resources if you're Florida State in the NIL world. And so I think you have to be careful with some of that. But I do think that Miami will do whatever it takes to try and win this recruitment. A lot of it may hinge on the fact of would Mario Cristobal and his staff sign off on a hardship waiver. I don't think they would. I think that they're going to try and do whatever they can to better their team and try and hurt one of their rivals at the same time. Again, is that the right thing, the wrong thing with a mother's health issue in play? You be the one to determine that. But I do think that it's interesting to follow along with and interesting to see. I think that it means a lot for Miami if he does go back. They're not a talented roster, and he would certainly be their best defensive lineman on that side. Heck, he may be one of their best defenders. And I think that's why you're seeing that urgency for Cristobal and his team to try and get Jackson back in the fold. I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Gramco. You can go to thegramco.com, use code TJ25 for 25% all of your Delta 8 needs, whether that be gummies, wake and bake coffee, pre-rolls, vapes. They've got a flavorless, odorless quick mix that you can put into your drinks or your baking recipes. Go to thegramco.com, the absolute best when it comes to Delta 8. They are Knoll founded. They are vet-owned. Some of the best people that I've ever worked with. They've done a ton of tailgates with us. We're excited about doing more stuff with them this upcoming season. thegramco.com, TJ25 at checkout. Appreciate them and appreciate their support. I don't know what ends up happening here. Let's give a quick prediction and get out of here. My gut is telling me that him taking this trip down to Miami is probably not what's best for FSU. I think that FSU was trying to avoid this trip down there, and if they could, keep him locked in Tallahassee. I would lean towards him picking Miami at this point. And I think that Florida State's got some very aggressive things that they can do if they want to push the envelope, if they want to do everything they can to get Jackson back in the fold. I cannot guarantee just yet that Florida State will take those leaps and bounds and do that. I think that Miami is very aggressive on the NIL front. I think Miami does everything they can to try and cast doubt in this young man's mind on whether or not he'll get that waiver approved. And I think ultimately he will probably end up with the Canes. Would love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think he lands? Do you think it's unethical for Miami to tell Jackson that his waiver isn't going to approve? Do you think it's unethical with considering the situation with his mother's health? Would love to hear kind of what you think. Do you think that Mario's probably just shooting straight with him and saying like, hey man, don't leave it up to the NCAA. Come back and play where you know you can play. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. Love to hear what you think overall in this situation. again, there's probably a couple sides to every story, but I do think it's interesting when you consider what all is going on with this one. Should Noel fans just relax? Should we kind of take it easy? Should we maybe lay off the tweets and the message board posts that are calling him out? Probably, let him make his decision of what's best for him, his family, and his situation. Yes, I would assume so. The same goes for the Canes fans that were trashing him on the way out. Maybe just let kids make their decisions. But I do think when we look at the adults in the situation and what's going on with the staff and NIL and different things at Miami, what is ultimately best for him, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what he decides, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Go Noles.